Have you ever wanted to tell the people around you about God, but not knowing what to say? Where do I start? How do I start? You don't need to be scared of saying the wrong thing, and I'll tell you why. Here you say, "Somebody at the door?" I think that's people who are bringing us food, thanks to Harper. We should have kids more often. I thought I was playing around. Got that grub, salad, gotta be healthy, bread, I don't know why yet. Oh, it's too heavy. Oh, that's a good problem. Oh wait, that's ragu sauce? That makes sense. Ragu? Barilla? Same thing. This episode is sponsored by Barilla Marinella Tomato Sauce. Just so we're all on the same page, evangelism is spreading the good news of the gospel, either publicly or through one-on-one conversation. Whether at work, at the grocery store, at school. I know a guy who shared his faith with someone he had never met across bathroom stalls. And that guy became a Christian. That type of evangelism is considered cold contact evangelism or as-you-go evangelism. As-you-go evangelism. That is not on purpose. Evangelism is a clear call to all Christians. A lot of Christians have a hard time with it, mostly due to fear, sometimes due to personality, periodically due to approach. And I don't think fear is actually the biggest issue that we face when it comes to evangelism. I think the biggest issue that we have when it comes to sharing the gospel is that for a lot of people, sharing the gospel is the only way they know or think about when it comes to sharing the gospel. When in reality, the life you lead is often a greater testimony than your actual testimony. I don't want to replace cold contact evangelism. I just want to remind you of something more powerful than your words. It's called your walk. Your daily walk is your greatest testimony, and it's also where you're gonna meet the most people. Most of us are seeing a lot of the same people every day. At school, at the gym, maybe on your commute to work, on your commute to school, on the train, or on the bus. These are our most common and constant circles of influence. And yet, these are the people that I have found Christians have the hardest time initiating with and sharing the gospel with. I've known students who every week can meet up 15 or 30 minutes before a small group discussion on campus and share with random strangers, but can be in a class with the same people for an entire semester and not once mention Jesus. The same is true for people at their jobs. I know people who have worked the same place for a couple of years and have only spoken to one or two of their co-workers about God. And what that means is that a lot of us are less effective with the people that we spend most of our time with. Now you could stop the video right here and leave convicted or challenged and decide, all right, this week I'm gonna share with my coworker. And so you spend the next week working up the courage, figuring out what you're gonna say, and then you finally talk to your coworker and you tell them about Jesus, or you tell them about your relationship with God, or you invite them to church. You think this is gonna be the first time that you're telling them about God or your church. Wrong! You've been telling him or her about God since the moment you met. Evangelism doesn't start with what they hear you say. It starts with what they see you do. 1 Peter 2:12 says, "Be careful to live properly among your unbelieving neighbors. They'll see your honorable behavior and in turn give honor to God." If you invite someone to church, they might come. If you tell someone about Jesus, they might listen. But if you live properly, or as the NIV puts it, if you live such good lives, they will honor God. In some cases, your life starts the conversation, not your words. I have a friend at my church who has had 2 people come up to him and say, "What are you all about? Why are you always so happy? Why are you always so kind?" He never said a word to them about God. He just lived like a follower of God. And these people noticed that something was different and eventually became Christians themselves. The key to effective evangelism within our circles of influence is living in such a way that by the time I open my mouth to mention Jesus, people have already seen his likeness in me. Now I know we're all flawed. I'm very flawed.
Yeah, he's very flawed. But I don't want to be serious.
You don't have to be serious.
Because you're not that flawed.
Oh, thank you.
You're wonderful.
Oh, thanks.
But yeah, he's very flawed.
Our flaws are actually the best part of it. When our evangelism depends only on our words, you can feel like there's no room for error. Like you've got to get it right. Like you've got to say the perfect thing in the perfect line in the perfect way with the perfect tone and not too preachy. And you got to be careful and you got to show love. And you want to be genuine and you don't want to be too pushy. It's just ridiculous. But when our evangelism is dependent on our lives, error is expected. In fact, it's welcomed. For Paul, sharing his weakness made him more effective, not less effective. When he's talking to the church in Corinth, he mentions that when he came to them in weakness, with fear and with trembling. Talking about your faith journey honestly and including your flaws and what you're learning or what you're going through is your most sincere and genuine form of evangelism. Christianity needs that type of honesty and sincerity in order to advance, especially in our world today. Because one of the reasons why people don't want to become Christians is us. I know that may be hard to hear if you're a believer watching this video, but the fact is that most people who aren't believers view us as hypocrites. Research study was done in 2013 by the Barna Group. Studies showed that 72% of people believe the church is full of hypocrites. Now you might hear that and say, yeah, but that's not me. I'm not like that. I'm a real Christian. I follow the Bible. And that may be true. I hope that it is, but the person you're talking to doesn't know that. You can push back against whether this describes you or not, but what you and I need to realize is that when we talk to people about God, the majority of the people we're talking to, 72% of them, probably think you and I are hypocrites. With that many people believing that we're all hypocrites, what's more important? For us to tell more people about God, or for more people to be able to tell that we're followers? Let me reiterate, I don't want to replace cold contact evangelism. I'm not saying you can only share with people who have had time to see your life. I just want to remind us that our lives can share the gospel too. When Paul is writing a letter to the church in Thessalonica, he reminds them that when he was first there bringing the gospel to them, he didn't just share it with his words, he shared the gospel with his life as well. Paul wrote a lot of letters to a lot of churches. Homie's wrist must have been killing him. But when people heard from Paul, they didn't just hear about God. He wasn't just giving them teachings. He was keeping them up to date with his life. He was letting them in on his journey. He was sharing his life with them. If you consider yourself a believer of Christ, I want to challenge you to make your Christianity more visible. Whoa, we shouldn't show off our relationship with God. You're right, don't. But our walk, our journey with God should be visible to others. Remember that Daniel prayed where everyone could see him. Not so everyone would see him, but he chose a location that was very visible. And when that visibility threatened his life, he didn't go somewhere where no one could see him. He stayed where his faith was visible. Some practical ways to do this: read your Bible in public. Read my Bible in public? All right, doing it right now. Read a physical Bible. It doesn't have to be one this big. This is a big Bible. Reading your Bible in public is not weird. Have you ever gone to Starbucks? There's people reading books all the time. Another practical is to pray for your meal when you're eating in public. I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me when they've seen me or me and my friends pray together for a meal and thanked us for praying or asked us about the church we go to. And another great practical that is incredibly evangelistic and that few people will say no to is ask people to join you for the service projects that you're doing with your church. Yes, that does mean you're actually gonna have to go serve in order for that one to be effective. When a coworker or a classmate joins you for a service project, they very vividly see your faith journey. They see you walk your talk. Not only are those three practicals really effective, they're really easy because they're things that followers of Jesus should already be doing. Effective evangelism starts with your walk and is followed up by your talk. So share your journey, invite others in, and it'll be a lot easier to invite them out. And in some cases, they might come up to you and invite themselves out, or they may ask you to study the Bible with them and to teach them what it means to follow Jesus, to teach them more about God, and even maybe to become a follower of Him themselves. What are some passages that help you reflect Christ wherever you are? Put it in the comments below and share this video with anyone who you think might find it useful. Press the like button on your way out and subscribe to get more content like this. Did I spill sauce on myself? I'm pretty sure I did not even open the jar. How did I do that?